Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane. And today I have for you not 1 versus 1, but 2 1 versus 1s on different maps. Yes, indeed, it is time for another operation. In this case, it's Operation Tears. Yes, indeed, it's also partly sort of due to the theme I'll sort of be trying to discuss via these 2 casts. In this case, it's the theme of defeatism. Or complaining, basically this sort of thing where you're basically throwing away all responsibility for your own actions on the battlefield. Very important theme that is, because the mind is just as important in terms of how it actually approaches these fights than just how you actually approach and sort of fight them. And strategy, you also need to have the proper mindset. You have to have the one where you can basically say, I will beat him even if I lose, I'll beat him another time. You need to have that sort of flair for keep trying. If you're just going to give up, you might as well just give up at everything else in life and go down a ditch or something. But no, it's a 1 versus 1 on Angoville, and of course it sort of falls into operations. I'll just mention that. There'll be no mid-game analysis, as these games also tend to be rather short, which is rather why I'm sort of fitting them to an operation, because again, not much in terms of the game. And also another note, these will both be games of my own. Yes, indeed, it was sort of a quick matchup because, well, I had so many games to go through. Most of them rather long. Some of them I'm not entirely sure were good, and so I rather again sort of once, as I always do when I'm in doubt, I fall back to my own games, which is mostly why I show my own games in some cases, because, well, I think this is actually a pretty awesome game, although that's not always so. Again, my apologies if you feel this is a bit self-absorbed, but again, sometimes you gotta do what you feel you gotta do. But in 1 versus 1 on Angoville, nicely divided into 2 sort of parts, one open, one not quite as open, more buildings, more bocage, and more victory points. But let us get right down to it. Let us go and look. Of course, in the northern, we are seeing me, Imperial Dane, as the Britisher, as the, I don't know, let's say 43rd Infantry Division, and opposing us shall be the Wehrmacht. Do not maul me, of the 10th SS Panzer Division, and let us get right down to it. Infantry section popping out, lieutenant on the way. Hacking up the truck, might as well do that so it doesn't sort of hang about after the lieutenant is out. Might as well queue it up, and you can't queue up that action, and thus be ready to quickly and swiftly move it about. In this case, again, that's sort of my personal preference. I use it to actually secure this strategic point, and of course prevent any sort of strategic point harassment, which is a favorite on this sort of map. And in which case I'll just go for it, in which case at the same time I'll be able to keep it within the borders of my own base, and particularly within the range of my Vickers machine gun emplacements, and thus keep it safe. And as you might already be noticing, our Wehrmachty friend is going pretty heavily on the pioneers. He is going for the sort of 5 to 6 pioneers sort of spam, and then he moves on for the Krieg barracks, and then grenadiers, and perhaps a half track. That's sort of the usual thing for now. In fact, with a lot of Wehrmacht players, when they face off against the Brits, at least the higher ones, some do have a bit more honor and courage and a bit more ingenuity in life, but you know, they rather go for this strategy. And of course, what is the strength of this strategy? Well, as you might have already noticed, he's taking 4 points at the same time, and as the British player, I'm not really going to be able to keep up with that at all. It's sort of, again, he's sort of taking a lot of territory at the same time denying me a lot of territory, and even the pioneers will be able to be sort of make a slight threat to some of my earlier units. Of course, this is sort of an involvement after the original pioneer spam, which got rather kicked in the teeth after the Krieg barracks was made dependent on a Wehrmacht quarters or a forward barracks already up. So they sort of went for this instead, where they sort of tried to quickly transition into some grenadiers, some much tougher infantry, and rather try to face off things like this. Infantry securing here, and my lieutenant is going to very shortly be running into some pioneers with the MP40s. There we go. Lieutenant swiftly and dashingly discovering this and getting away. Although he's not going to be completely deterred, and fire a few volleys at least to keep them occupied, while a second infantry section is on the way to sort of keep the lieutenant sort of supported. That's usually what I always do, because on its own he's not really strong. On the other hand, with some infantry chaps, he's going to be much stronger. And then quickly the Bren carrier, because pioneers aren't really suited for dealing with Bren carriers. But there we go, getting suppressed by the Vickers machine gun emplacement right nearby, so it gives me an advantage. British troops opening up on the dastardly SS pioneers, trying to get away. Some running away, being hunted down by the heroic chaps of the Britons, of King George's lads. While some other pioneers sort of sneaking about here. And clearly, I mean, our friend here had a rather heavy focus on the east. Das Ost. Rather, of course, hoping to secure both victory points and some of the nastier resources. And, of course, all the Beaux making things easier for him. And, of course, as falls in place with this maps, a lot of barbed wire right here to sort of prevent this strategic point from being harassed. Which is rather painful. So, yeah, don't blame him. And setting up a bunker here to protect this fuel point. That's a bit of a deviation from this strategy, actually. But there you go, it's certainly there to keep things clear, and of course this point clear as well to sort of make it a lot harder for me to actually counterattack. But at the same time, one pioneer goes down to the heroic reconnaissance section. Bren carrier getting ready, Vickers machine gun emplacement ready to support the chaps. Yes, I'm rather expecting some sort of heavy pioneer attack, and at the same time we are seeing the Krieg barracks going up, so already nicely sort of sequenced already there. We'll probably be seeing some grenadiers soon from that as soon as it's up. Most of the pioneers working on that. And some pioneers sneaking about. Whatever could they have in mind? Looks like they want to harass my strategic point. My goodness, whatever shall I do? Oh, right. I've secured it. Secured it. No luck for him. Jolly good show right there, I might say. And yes, that might sound a bit too happy about myself, but still. Not a bad way. And of course, a lot of players won't actually notice this because, of course, there's no observation post or anything. So they'll sort of be until it's too late and oh right, nothing's happening. Bother. And looks like some pioneers are sort of moving about here. Brenker now continues the hunt for the Pioniere. Firing up with his machine guns, doing quite a bit of damage to these pioneers, although it looks like it will not be able to kill them. Other pioneer team forced away as well, and looks like some pioneers are hanging about here in the south as well. Do not maul me is currently getting, well, mauled. Yes, indeed, how tragic. And Grenadier ready, SS, Grenadier, Panzer Grenadiers ready from the 10th SS. And looks like some infantry section chaps are getting suppressed, and that's, of course, the stage I discovered that, oh wait, there's a machine gun emplacement, oh, balls. But at the same time, I do figure, well, if I can't take it directly, I'll take it indirectly. Yes, indeed, Grenadiers sneaking about there. Of course, I have discovered the Grenadiers, although, of course, I'm expecting them. But I'm not entirely sure in what measure. Firing away, and there we go. Panzerschrecks ready to deal with my Bren carrier. First shot falls too low. Panzerschrecks aren't too accurate at range, much to my pleasure. And there we go, suppressed by the Vickers machine gun and the Bren gun. And of course, that is one thing of the upgraded Vickers machine gun, which is nice. It can actually suppress troops. Of course, not a lot of players actually think of this when they use it. But that's what I do partly. Of course, it's also just got a nice lot of firepower. Field support truck ready. Some pioneers sneaking out there. Firing upon all those pioneers. One down, and there we go. Bren carrier hit. Further grenadiers arriving. Infantry section facing off against the nasty grenadiers, while further are arriving with some pioneer support. Some losses for the reconnaissance section, and it might be forced away. There we go. Another down and a retreat, although not before sniping a grenadier right through his head. Infantry section moving in from the north. And of course things are looking a bit dicey here. I mean, I feel like if I can get to this point, I might actually be able to sort of deliver a crucial blow. I'm sort of keeping up the pressure in this case because, again, sometimes you just have to keep up the pressure no matter the cost. Sometimes you just have to have a feeling for it and sort of hope, well, I'll break through somehow, eventually, somewhere. Those can be rather crucial moments. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Another grenadier goes down. Leaving behind only one awfully wounded one, leaving the others a bit shorter on manpower. Captain ready. I want a Stuart light tank as soon as possible. They can do a bit against grenadiers with Pantrek, and of course, after the patch, they are likely to take a little less damage, so that's also quite spiffy. And there we go, grenadiers on the retreat. Pioneers getting hunted down, and of course, pulling back towards the machine gun and bunker. And what is this? The Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251 half-pack is on the field. Oh dear. Schützenpanzerwagen, making things a bit more difficult for me, and of course, popping in some pioneers to man the guns. Brenker moving in to support, and at the same time I'm going for that Stuart light tank ASAP. And at the same time pressing through here, might as well keep things a bit nice there. Lieutenant popping in for a nice stay inside the building. Biggest machine gun moving in. Not keen on opening up with the armor piercing rounds. I don't want him to just sort of dash away. Sort of hope to lure him in, and then of course the grenadiers with Panzerschrecks arrive, which make things a bit more difficult for me. But NK desperately tries to get away. Grenadiers moving in. Will they fire their Panzerschrecks? Nope, the Brenker makes a hurried escape. Leaving behind an reconnaissance section to fend off things while an infantry section moves in. Grenadiers holding back, waiting for the half-track to move forward to provide some machine gun support. And we are seeing the Stuart light tank is ready. And there we go, charging forwards for the Commonwealth. And there we go, half-track is hit. Taking quite a bit of damage, Grenadiers moving in. And I'm sort of careful. Don't quite have the canister shots as of yet. Grenadiers advancing. Reconnaissance section is suppressed. 1 hit, 2 hits. Still, they charged across open ground, which of course makes it a lot easier for me to hit. And now they're sort of getting bunched up. What does this mean? Prime targets, and there we go. 1 canister shot and a lot of death. Grenadiers down. Further arriving, and a Panzerschreck was dropped. Half-track moves in for a bit of extra damage. Brenker moves in. Half-track sort of stuck trying to hold the line while Grenadiers are advancing. Infantry section moving in, hoping to pick up. And Brits are so bleeding broken faction. So, yeah. And that's me just being, well, tired of all this and basically saying, oh, quit crying. Sort of in my head going, you big fat baby. Because quite frankly, that's it. He's going for a strategy which I think most experts would rather say is rather broken, because it rather takes a lot of things that is rather hard for the British to counter unless everything goes quite right for them. In this case, of course, though, his problem was he sort of hang about out in the open with his Grenadiers, keeping a bit of loss. And then, of course, he got knocked out by a canister shot. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what else he would have expected. I mean, broken in what way? That I beat you? In which case, not really. That's just you being a poor sport. And certainly you can't beat the Brits without having to resort to this sort of tomfoolery. So that's just my opinion. Of course, this is sort of perhaps a defeatism bit. You know, he's sort of figuring, well, I can only beat them with this, and if it's not, well, it's broken. And that's, of course, complete hogwash, nonsense, bollocks, rubbish. But there you go, and that's sort of the core of defeatism again. It's not my fault, it's the faction that's broken, it's you that's cheating, it's God that's conspiring against me, hail Satan, whatever. But of course, that's not the only match. We're quickly going to move on to match number 2, so stay tuned, my wonderful, handsome viewers. And welcome to match number 2 in Operation Tears. Yes, indeed, we are continuing the fight. In this case, though, I will be fighting as the Wehrmacht, but also a quick note about our previous opponent. Do not mourn me, he was actually a level 13 Wehrmacht player, so he wasn't exactly fresh out of the Volksgrenadier division. He actually had some experience behind him, but then again, you know. And of course, yes, I've already sort of tipped the hand. I am the Wehrmacht. 91st Luftlandedivision, Division, or could it be? No, we'll just say 17th SS. I'm feeling cheeky today. And who shall be opposing it? Shall be Sealcat of the 1st Infantry Division. And as you might have noticed, we're fighting on Beaux Lowlands. Quite interesting map, of course. One of my favorites personally. Nice large map in sort of sense, but at the same time it's not just a huge wide open piece of terrain like Carby K Airfield. It's sort of nice and wide in the sense that your opponent can't just pin you in one half of the map. He actually has to make an effort at the same time. Usually you have to sort of think about which points you want to hold and how, because again the river sort of creates one division, the road and the bridge are sort of another division of the map. So again, sort of requires a bit more deeper strategic thinking on how you want to handle the map. And of course, let's continue in the themes of defeatism, and you'll see it probably very soon as we get on with this. Pioneers on the way, of course, and nothing unusual there. Wehrmacht quarters going up again. Nothing highly unusual, my friends. Engineers, looks like they will be heading westward, setting up barracks. And again, this sort of trying to avoid the filter. What does Relic want from me? I put out this map. It sort of happens. It's not a perfect system, I know, but again, and that's just poor luck. And yeah, I'm apparently not worried about the swear filter, but again, that's some people who apparently really feel the need to circumvent it so they can feel tough and manly. Anyhow, yes, again, we're already sort of seeing this. It's already beyond his control. It's not his fault. I mean, that's sort of already the sort of start of a defeat right there. I mean, yes, you might not like the map, but you might as well take it like a man and fight on. Because again, complaining about it isn't providing a solution. Defeatism only points out all the problems so you can feel nice and convenient about them. It doesn't actually provide the solution so you can actually solve anything. I mean, that's sort of my approach to things. Yes, some things you will hate, definitely, I certainly do, but I don't just sort of go about and say, well, this sucks, it's unfair. I'll just say, well, I need to get better. And right there's already complaining of British and the Panzer Elite. Again, we are sort of seeing this. It's not my fault, it's everybody else's. God is conspiring against me. Hail Satan. Well, perhaps not. I've never heard it like that, but I still find it a bit interesting and sort of fun to say. And yes, I'm pretty sure that's blasphemy, but never mind. And as a point there, can you stand the boring game? And at that stage, you can pretty much say, well, sort of, it feels like me with the Wehrmacht versus the Americans with all their riflemen. But again, the irony is, well, probably going to be lost on him, but rather Wehrmacht start from me, usual start. Lots of riflemen from him. We're probably seeing that, not also the usual start. Bit of cheap in tongue right there, and engineers getting engaged by the Volksgrenadiers out in the open. At least there's flank, etc. Micro, well, I'm not going to say micro should be the defining trait of any strategy game. Tactics and strategy B. Micro is sort of just the thing that enables you to do all those things, but let's not get stuck up on technicalities. And yes, flanking will be there with Panzer Elite and all that, but again, that all comes down to how you feel about it, what sort of excuses you want to make. And right here, sort of nice detail. Sandbag, so I can take this point nice and safely. I mean, again, when you're going to take a point in hostile territory, you might as well sort of try and protect yourself while doing so. Volkswagen is getting engaged. Not much cover right here for them, so quickly pulling those chaps out. Finding the rifleman at range. Rifleman also sort of staying away, not quite keen on engaging these Volksgrenadiers. These quite heroic Volksgrenadiers, Heroes of the Reich, at least in my mind. Trying to take the point here, slight misclick. MG42 on the way. So far, nothing unusual. A few riflemen on from his side. 3 teams so far. My goodness, is it already spam? And of course, sort of trying to advance casually. Just laying up some sandbags to sort of provide me with some cover to advance off from, and at least perhaps a point from the MG42 to cover this in safety. Because again, one thing about MG42s, yes, they can protect, but again, you generally want them in cover so they don't get shut down with those that are trying to suppress, because that can actually happen. Lots of riflemen from Seal Cat and the 1st Infantry Division, while the heavy machine gun sets in. Right to cover from the bridge. Volksgrenadiers advance under the cover of the MG42. And there we go, riflemen getting away rather swiftly. That was a quick retreat right there. Almost French. Oh, yes, the wit. And a 3rd Volksgrenadier team on the way. And we're seeing a weapon support center up from Seal Cat. Rather interestingly, that's not the usual thing for most American players. I'm certainly not going to say it's a bad thing, because that's usually what I go for myself. I mean, a weapon support center, if you're facing stuff like that, well, why not go for the weapon support center? Why not get some mortars? And that was my steam. Don't worry about that. My steam, not your steam, your mother's steam, your cat's steam, or any sort of other steam that might be in your vicinity. Wire going up here, partly to, of course, obscure this sort of nice piece of sandbaggery up there, but of course also to make it a bit harder for him to move about right here out in all of this negative cover. I mean, you might as well make it a lot harder for him and much more punishing. And there we go, engaging. Volksgrenadiers have to pull back. Pioneers with flamethrowers, and there we go, out in the negative cover. There's no cover for them, little friends. Just death and negative cover. Further Volksgrenadiers moving in from the rear. Quite some losses from the Americans already, and not quite any for me as of this stage, although the Volksgrenadiers are not quite in a nice position still. Doing quite a bit of good job right there, again, due to sort of the magic of cover. Although looks like they might have to retreat now. Yes, indeed, down to 2 men. A bit of engagement right here. Rifleman going down rather heavily. Looks like, in fact, got an entire rifleman team. That was a bit unfortunate. Him getting caught up right there. Volksgrenadiers continuing the hunt for the armies. Engineers with flamethrowers engaging my Volksgrenadiers, and looks like the engineers will not be winning that match. MG42 still covering this bit, having a nice view from the bridge, having a bit of beer from the thermos, while the Volksgrenadiers do all the hard work, flashing out the riflemen. There we go, rifleman team running away, right past the Volksgrenadier, and so do these, although just running from some pioneers in a barn. Yes, the ever-threatening presence of pioneers in a barn. And there we go, he is going for the sniper. That's actually what most American players do when they go for the weapon support center. Sniper. I mean, I'm not sure why. I mean, a mortar would do the same trick. A heavy machine gun would probably as well. Plus, it wouldn't be quite as easy for me to deal with another sniper, but that's sort of my opinion. Plus, I just hate snipers, as I've already made clear in present casts. Or previous casts, not present casts. Moving through all of this and laying down a bit more barbed wire to again keep them further out in the negative cover. I mean, you might as well do that if you can. Krieg barracks going up at this stage. I'm not quite sure what to expect. Oh, so I'm probably just going to go for the usual thing and expect an M8 to be hitting me. Volkskraniers with MP40s. Others heading towards the center. Sniper advance. Ready. Americans advancing up. And looks like we have a nice assault force here. Flamethrowers, riflemen, and a sniper to provide a bit of more serious firepower against the MG42, at least to temporarily incapacitate it.
Okay, the power fire is ready.
Pack 38 is ready as well. Volkskraniers pushing through in the south. And some mines right there. More barbed wire here. Always with the barbed wire, always a good thing again. I mean, if you can't do anything, at least put down some barbed wire, do something. I mean, you don't want to be totally inactive. And there we go, MG42 gun a shot right through the head. American rushing forward. Not looking good. MG42 trying to fire away, but the Americans are too close. It's too hazardous. MP40 equipped troops, though, moving in to clear up this mess. At least they hope so. Clearing up the riflemen, could be clearing up the engineers. And the sniper has... Where's the sniper? Wait, there he is. Awfully close. And heavy losses for the Volkskraniers. In fact, they got scorched. My goodness. Toasty. And looks like the last one will be making it home despite yelling, "We're doomed." Pack 38 getting ready. I usually prefer this sort of area rather than here because, well, it has a nice sort of overwatch precision from here. Plus, it can cover this area. My opinion, at least. And of course, at the same time, again, barbed wire denying him this piece of sand back. Engineers getting hunted down, and a bike is ready. Hunt down those damn Americans. Riflemen doing a bit of work here in the west, with some engineers securing this for Uncle Sam and the 1st Infantry Division, while the 17th SS pushes onwards. It's Panzerabwehrkanonen moving forwards. Also quiet at this stage. Mining this area, figuring again I might as well make it a lot harder if my opponent decides to move through here. Make it a lot more painful. Bike moving around, hoping to catch a sniper. So far only 2 kills for his sniper though. And going for the Krieg. Well, the Storm Armory upgrade is the sort of assault phase. There we go. Assault phase. Yes, indeed, Dane, you can remember. Absolutely amazing. And another swift counterattack right here. Albeit with a lot more close-range weapons, which could end up badly for me. Engineers moving in from the north, a bit more coordinated this time rather than last time, where the engineers didn't support. And the pioneers were burned right away, although it looks like the engineers might be gunned down themselves. Yes, indeed, no respite for them this time around, although the Volkskraniers are taking quite a bit of damage. They're moving into a bit of defense cover, opening up on the riflemen, firing away with a glorious machine pistol 40. Gunning down the riflemen, although taking quite some heavy losses in the process themselves. But the riflemen cannot survive out in the open against a submachine gun. And the Volkskraniers take it out, although rather heavy losses on all sides right there. By clearing out the retreaters, Volkskraniers providing a bit of support. Engineers with flamethrowers advancing. Sniper firing away, my goodness, the excitement. And let's go have a look at Sealcat this time around. Is going for that tank depot, my goodness, he's going rather aggressively. He's sort of jumping right from to something a bit more expansive, a bit more heavy. I mean, that's not an entirely bad idea. I mean, I'm not going to say rushing for tanks is a bad idea, but of course sometimes it should be done with a bit of measure. But it certainly could work out for him quite well if he knows what he is doing. Although no doctrine as of yet. No Storm Armory for me, and just sort of trying to cut off all of this resources from him so he can take it in nice and secluded. And so far he's actually not moved into here. Completely left it up, and he's sort of just utterly switched to here. But the tank depot is up. And looks like an American counter-assault is in the progress. Engineers with minesweepers on the move. And the Sturm Armory on the way. Volkskraniers hanging about, waving about their fancy MP40s. Slow advance right here.
The Germans are after one of our munitions points.
Trying to regain their territory, and a swift counterattack is initiated. Grenadiers now joining in the fun as well. Catching the Americans on all sides. A grenade lobbed by the Grenadiers right on the riflemen. Killing one. And a bit of fire on all sides. Sniper opening up. Bike heavily damaged. Oh dear, no, Mr. Bike, don't sacrifice it yourself. No need to be a hero. And these Grenadiers took quite a beating. Looks like the Americans are getting forced away again. No support weapons, nothing to actually protect them against infantry. Seriously, because again, while a sniper is nice, he's not exactly going to stop an infantry charge on his own. And there we go. Heavy machine gun on the way. And my goodness, he's got the fuel for a tank destroyer, but he's not going for one. That actually means he knows that a tank destroyer is not a tank. Absolutely great to see. I'm happy to see, and that's certainly something I want you all to see. He actually knows a tank destroyer isn't a tank. He's going for the tanky business. Brilliant, except for the rest of all this sort of fighting. Not quite as brilliant, but I was at least getting a heavy machine gun to sort of make it harder for my infantry to move in. But sandbags going up again, sort of trying to create a defensive position here where there's normally not going to be one, which might be to my advantage. 30 caliber ready, infantry advancing once more, although I might have asked for a mortar instead at this stage. But still, it might do the trick. Volksgrenadiers holding up behind cover. Americans advancing. Will the sniper open up? Will the sniper open up? There we go. But not on the Volksgrenadiers in heavy cover, firing down on the Americans. And what is this? We are seeing we're seeing blitzkrieg. Actually, that increases the rate of fire of even infantry. Actually, that's not so known. Besides increasing the speed of infantry and all a bit, it can actually also increase the rate of fire a bit. Firing away. Not entirely sure how much, but still, a bit is better than nothing. And there we go, Grenadiers charging ahead. The spirit of Blitzkrieg and Imperial Dane propelling them forward to greater glories for the fatherland. And there we go, even the Stug joining in. Yes, indeed, a Blitz Stug. Strafing run, doing quite a bit of nasty damage, actually, forcing my troops away. And the heavy machine gun suddenly coming to short against the might of the Sturmgeschütz of the 17th SS, which actually had them in lieu of its Panzer Abteilung or battalion. Was supposed to have some panzers, but it didn't. It was also supposed to have Panzerjäger Force instead of for its Panzerjäger Abteilung, but instead it got Maler Fries.
New recruits in. We're back to full strength.
Interestingly enough, the 17th SS actually received some reconnaissance companies from the 10th SS, which would mean the reconnaissance units would actually be pretty more veteran than the regulars. But there you go. Just some thoughts from me. Marvin mucking about.
Sniper ready for battle.
And there we go, the Sherman on the way. The last big hope for the American forces, I suspect. Although this Duke 4 is going to be quite a nuisance for them, unless, of course, he flanks it. Question is, of course, has he learned that lesson? Rifleman advancing. Bite goes out of control. Although that looks awfully controlled.
Enemy unit down.
Olmo makes it behind the bush to sort of hide his shame of getting blown to bits. And there we go, Sherman is ready. Mark 4 or M4 Sherman. Not sure what mark it would have been, perhaps a Mark 5 or the Mark 4. Oh dear, I'm not an expert on Shermans, except they had a tendency of going boom. Aha. Sherman advancing carefully. Could make a flank on the Stug. No, it's turning its rear. Oh dear. And right, looks like clearly that Mr. Sealcat's problem is partly with armor tactics. You don't expose the rear to your enemy. Certainly not with the Sherman, and you generally want to be flanking the Stug, not fighting it from the front. Because if you can get around the Stug, that Stug is pretty much going to be in trouble. And my goodness, I've actually gotten a sniper myself. Pioneers heavily lost. Oh dear. But assault grenades, yes indeed, and the sniper caught out in the open. Oh dear, but assault grenades catching all of the riflemen, doing terrible, terrible things to them.
Down to 300 points.
Slaughtering them, blowing them to bits, killing them. You know, all the usual stuff. Heavy machine gun firing away. Trying to suppress the pioneers, but not having much luck with it. The Sherman doing nothing, having been scared off. And now he's just holding back the Sherman, perhaps just scared of the Stug rather than just trying to flank it and get that Stug knocked out. But again, that rather seems to be his problem. He's sort of timid, sort of unsure of what to do. Looks like some engineers have snuck through here in the west. And he's not retreating that machine gun. Tragic. That actually looks a bit odd. Why do I have a suspicion he's just given up? And again, that's sort of the business about defeatism. You just give up rather than just trying again and again, or he's just, you know. And there we go. Game over. Yes, indeed, that was the second match of Operation Tears. Again, this sort of theme is being in the larger defeatism. But again, what could we learn from here? Well, I mean, the American had some nice ideas. Trouble was more execution. Slightly for the bit unfortunate incident right there, but at the same time, he was much too quick to give up on here, and much too quick to get a sniper, and perhaps instead of something else that could have helped him a bit more aggressively. And he certainly could have done with some mines himself. And then when he finally gets a Sherman, he gets way too timid with it. Instead of charging it forwards and trying to flank the Stug, which is rather how you should deal with them, he just sort of panics and pulls it out of there again. Defeatism, I mean, feeling that you can't win and sort of, and then just giving up. That's not really going to help you, I'm sorry. But it's not, no matter how much you like to think so. Of course, another thing, of course, was the nice use of barbed wire. I mean, lots of barbed wire can make it much harder for your opponent to move about. And of course, sandbags. Sandbags, always helpful, so is barbed wire, of course, always trying to do something. Always try to do something. That's generally always ought to be a rule of thumb for everyone. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this operation. Yes, I know it might not be the most exciting one, but still, it was sort of a theme I wanted to sort of discuss, and I sort of felt these two games perhaps could sort of illuminate them, at least partially. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something, and see you tomorrow. Cheers.